Hello everybody, it's Nick here with Nick Tolman Music, and welcome to our first lesson in our new series using Hal Leonard's Guitar Method Book 1. Let's go ahead and dive in. Alright, so for today's lesson, we're just going to quickly look at pages 2 through 5. It's the very beginning of the book, and it's all the basic info surrounding the guitar. Now, I have some individual lessons where I go in depth on all of these concepts. Please check them out. These lessons include how to tune your guitar, what the staff is all about when learning to play the guitar, how to hold your guitar, all of these kind of basic concepts. And that's what's talked about in here, but we are going to quickly discuss them today in this lesson. So on page 2, you're looking at 3 different styles of guitars. Now, there are so many different styles of guitars, so many different instruments that are kind of intended for different things. They have different sounds. They feel different when you play. All of these things are important to know and understand. And this gives us kind of 3 basic types. Now, the first type that shows on there is a steel string acoustic guitar, similar to what I'm playing right here, okay? This is just like kind of your typical acoustic guitar. Now, this is a really commonly used instrument and will work great through this book, but the reality is any guitar you have will work just fine for this book. Play along with what you have. The next type of instrument it shows on there is a nylon string acoustic guitar. Now, if you're interested in going and buying a guitar, it's important to know the difference between these 2 instruments. So nylon string instruments are generally used for classical guitar playing. You also might find what they call like a gypsy jazz style guitar, which is also a nylon string instrument. And it's designed for older style of jazz playing. If those aren't the avenues that you're looking to go on guitar, then you might want to stay away from those instruments. If they are, then that's where you want to go. But it's important to know the difference. If you go to your local music store, I'm sure they can help you out. But just be aware, if you're not looking to play classical style or maybe some jazz in the style of like Django Reinhardt, then you might want to avoid the nylon string guitar and stick with just your standard acoustic guitar with steel strings. All right, so the last type of instrument you see on here is an electric guitar. Also, obviously a very commonly used instrument, and there are hundreds of different kinds of electric guitars. And if you're playing an electric guitar for this series, that's perfectly fine. It will work great. Go ahead and use it. All right, so the next page, on page 3, it's going to talk about tuning. And it gives you some different options. Now, the first thing it does is it gives you a quick explanation about the tuning. It calls them the tuning keys. I often refer to them as like the tuning pegs. That's fine. But no, that's what we're talking about up here. Now, I have a whole video on how to tune your guitar. Please check it out. It'll walk you through exactly what you need to do. I highly recommend, especially if you are a beginner, to just get yourself a guitar tuner and learn how to use it. So the video that I am referencing uses this tuner, which is the Snark clip-on tuner, okay? You can find this thing on Amazon. You can find it at your local music store. It's a great tuner. I'll put the link in the description box below if you want to get one. Go ahead and pick yourself up a tuner. So it also talks to you about being able to tune with a keyboard and shows you exactly what notes on the keyboard you would need to push if you wanted to tune by listening to a keyboard. And it also shows you another way to tune, is exactly what it says, another way to tune, where you essentially tune the guitar to itself. This is a great tool if you maybe don't have a tuner on you, or you're just like playing around the campfire and you want the guitar to be roughly in tune. You can use this method, and it shows the 5th fret, tuning it, 5th fret on the 6th string, the low E string here, tuning it to the open A string, and then 5th fret on the A string, tuning it to the open D string, or 4th string, so on and so forth. 5th fret to open. Now it is a little bit different on the G here when you're tuning the B string, because you're going to want to use the 4th fret. So on the G string, you're going to play 4th fret to tune your open B, or open 2nd string. and then back to 5th fret to tune the last 2. So essentially what you're doing is you're just using the guitar to tune to itself. Now, it might, in real time, it would sound something like this if this was out of tune. It's out of tune, right? So now I'm going to listen, try to get those pitches exactly the same. And now I'm in tune. That's a quick overview of tuning. Again, check out my video on how to tune your guitar to walk you more in depth on how to do that. All right, so on page 4, it talks about playing position. And this is really important. I have a whole video, again, you can check it out, on how to hold your guitar. And it's really helpful, walks you through the basic ideas. But essentially, this gives you some guidelines. And there's a few things that I want to point out. First off is that your guitar should always be, your neck should always be at a slightly upward angle, okay? You don't want your guitar pointing down like this. You don't want it like totally flat, because what it's going to do is it's going to cause some issues, especially in the wrist of your left hand, okay? So you want your guitar kind of at a slightly upward position. I generally rest my guitar on the right leg. If you're a classical player, it's really common to rest on the left leg, and you can really get a nice upward angle here. Either way, your leg should be slightly elevated. There's a few ways to go about this. For me, I'm resting my right foot just on my left foot. Okay, and I get just the elevation that I need to be able to do that. You can use a strap, and that will help you to kind of keep it elevated a little bit. Or you can pick up a guitar footstool. I have a link in the description below, and that works just fine as far as getting your foot slightly elevated to help you keep the guitar up. Now, biggest thing that you want to watch out for when you're holding your guitar is your left hand here, and making sure that you are not creating tension with your left wrist, okay? So see how my wrist is like super tweaked out like that? You don't want that. You want a nice, relaxed, straight wrist without bending it like that. So that's what I'm shooting for. If my guitar is too far down, what ends up happening is I end up bending my wrist like that, and it causes a lot of problems and causes pain in your left hand, all right? So that's your basic idea. You want to have a nice, slightly upward pointing neck and a nice relaxed left wrist. Your right arm is going to just rest right here on the shoulder of the instrument, so it is ready to play, okay? Now that might kind of be more of an elbow if your arm is smaller, especially for kids, and that's okay. For me, it's right on my forearm, is just gonna rest right here on the instrument. All right. Okay, so let's take a look at page 5, musical symbols. Now, again, I have a whole video that will walk you in depth on what the staff is all about and how to read notes on the staff. This book is going to read notes using the musical staff, and so you need to familiarize yourself with these concepts, okay? So the staff is the group of 5 lines and 4 spaces that you see that all the musical notes are placed, okay? The staff helps you to know what note is which, okay? Because depending on where the note is sitting on the staff will determine what the note is, all right? And the guitar we play in the treble clef. Now, treble clef looks like this, and it is always going to be found at the beginning of the staff. You don't need to worry too much about it. It's just always going to be there, and you don't need to worry about the fact that there are other kinds of clefs, which means that the notes would be different on the staff. You just have to worry about the treble clef if you're just playing guitar, all right? Now, it does point out on here that notes can be found either on lines or on spaces. I would add that notes can also be found above or below the staff using tools that we call ledger lines. We will dive way more into that further down the road, but just know that that's a possibility. Okay, the next thing that it points out here is what are called bar lines. Now, bar lines are vertical lines on the staff. And bar lines separate the music into measures. So measures are the kind of the organizational tool that we use to separate music into a particular number of beats. Okay, so it's really common for there to be 4 beats in a measure, or sometimes there are 3 beats in a measure. Sometimes there are 2. but just know that a measure is a set of beats, and you're going to place the notes within measures on the staff. The next thing that it points out here is the time signature. Now, the time signature is what determines how many beats are going to be in each of those measures. So the time signature, again, is found at the beginning of the staff on every line, and it's right next to the treble clef, and it's going to determine, again, how many beats are found in each measure. So as you're looking here on page 5, it shows us 4/4 time. Now, 4/4 time is the most common time signature, and it means that there will always be 4 beats in each measure, and that a quarter note is the type of note that we're going to use to count that beat. Okay, so the top note of that time signature tells us how many beats are in the measure. The bottom note tells us what kind of note is getting the beat. So if it was 3/4 time, it would mean there are 3 beats in every measure. And again, that 4 on the bottom means that a quarter note is still getting the beat. 2/4 time, same thing, except there's 2 beats in every measure. Quarter note still gets the beat. If it was 2/2 time, that would mean there are 2 beats in every measure, but a half note is getting the beat. All right. Again, we'll dive more into that later. It'll make more sense as we go along, but that's what the time signature is all about. Lastly, on the bottom of page 5 is it introduces us to notes, 3 different types of notes, and we'll learn also about another kind of note in this book. But for now, we'll talk specifically about whole notes, half notes, and quarter notes. So a whole note is an empty circle with no stem. Whenever you see a whole note, that means that that note is going to be held for 4 beats or for 4 counts. All right. So I have my metronome on here. I'm going to play a note and hold it for 4 counts. Ready, play. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. Try it again. And 1, 2, 3, 4, off. Try it with me. Here we go. Just on the first string. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and play. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. Again, ready, and play. 1, 2, 3, 4, off. That is a whole note. Now the speed can change. If I have my metronome set to a faster tempo, that whole note is going to be faster. It's still going to be 4 beats. All right. Let's go ahead and try a half note. So half note looks like a whole note, except for it has a stem. That stem might be pointed up, it might be pointed down. It doesn't matter. It's just a basic stem, a single line. And let's go ahead and try it. So here is a half note. Our metronome is set at 72. And here's what a half note sounds like. Ready, and play. 1, 2, off. 1, 2, off. 1, 2, off. Half note off. Try it with me. Ready, and play. 1, 2, off. 1, 2, off. 1, 2, off. Okay, that's a half note. Gets 2 beats. Now let's look at the quarter note. You guessed it, a quarter note gets 1 beat. So here's our metronome again. Quarter note is going to line up right with the beat. So here we go. 2, ready, and go. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, off. Quarter note just gets 1 beat. It's going to line right up with the metronome. And that's how it goes, all right? Go and try it with me. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, and play. Beat, 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 beat. 1, 1, 1, 1. Quarter, 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 off. That's quarter notes. All right, so that is the very beginning of learning to play guitar. Please check out my other videos that I mentioned earlier. Again, I have a video on how to tune the guitar, how to hold the guitar, what the staff is all about, introducing you to the basic types of notes and things like that. They're going to be really helpful. I'll put links for all those videos in the description below. Thank you so much for tuning in today. We will catch you on our next lesson. Thanks.